Welcome to the Polite Conversations podcast, where every episode is focused on civility, decorum, and good manners. And I'm your lovable, non-controversial host, Ina. If you know me, you know I definitely don't like to ruffle any feathers at all.
They are gleefully embracing the reactionary right in order to stick it to the transes because we're just the greatest threat to womanhood of all time or something.
Yeah, and the atheists are joining hands in doing that. The Logic and Reason crew.
Who love them some Jordan Peterson, who was a reactionary Catholic.
Right. And do you remember when they used to be like, we can't allow immigration from Muslim countries because their society is too homophobic and narrow-minded and they can't adjust to our like open and progressive way of life. They hate our freedoms, blah, blah, blah.
We would never chop queer people's heads off. We would just ban their health care.
Right. I mean, it's bullshit because they are fine with a lot of the same viewpoints if it's like done in a Western way by a white guy.
Yep.
Right?
Sure are.
Because not every like Muslim is like rushing to chop people's heads off.
No, of course not.
So some are like
99.9%
exactly
of them aren't.
There are obviously trans accepting people, and there are also transphobic people.
Right, and I mean, histories of gender nonconformity go back really far, and they're fascinating in Ottoman times and
right,
times.
And it's mentioned in Islamic scripture as something that the Prophet was okay with because the women could be themselves around. Yeah.
But far and away, not every Muslim community has ever considered gender nonconformity haram.
Right. So, but then they always act like Muslims are like at the very end and only at the very end of that spectrum, which is like ISIS level, insanity, rushing to chop people's heads off. And that's clearly not true. There's like transphobic bigots that are just like, say Jordan Peterson. They will just use their voice to be transphobic bigots. And in fact, something that is re-energizing the transphobic part of society in like Pakistan is that they are getting talking points and legitimacy and
of course,
from Jordan Peterson, from Ben Shapiro. They are watching all these videos. They're using the same kinds of language. They're like fighting about pronouns. Like these things.
It's almost like these white dudes are doing an imperialism.
Yeah. They are like repackaging and reselling bigotry in a whole new re-energized way around the world.
Also, I don't think they've ever heard of Indonesia, for example.
Right. I mean, even in South Asia, like in India and Pakistan has a rich history of gender nonconformity. Of course, people are not treated well all the time, but it wasn't like the taboo wasn't like how... It's different, let's say.
Sure. I mean, and it's not like Western countries Christian countries have a great history on this, right?
Yeah.
It was the very British Empire that wiped a lot of this stuff out, or tried to.
Yes. Like they found it to be barbaric and non-civilized, and they imposed.
And what they were very afraid of too, and they associated, of course, as you know, through the lens of Orientalism, these Asiatic Orientals, Muslims, with being effeminate, and they were afraid of their people in these countries they were occupying going native or becoming too soft and feminine, just as they were afraid of British men becoming too feminine. It always goes back to that.
Yeah.
This fear that men will become too weak and it will destroy patriarchy, and then I guess Western civilization just blows up.
Right, the OG like soy boy bullshit.
Right, it's from Victorian Britain, basically.
Yeah, actually, I was
out into the empire.
Something I didn't know is like this hyper orientalizing and effeminate photo taking of like. You know how you see like these old photos of like the Rajas in India, like back in the day, and they're like with all their jewels, like strings of pearls and like ruffles and things. Like I didn't know that this was something like the British like hyped up and exaggerated in their photo shoots, like to. Like I didn't know that either,
that they specifically exaggerated that, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
But then I also just kind of want to say, have you been to the National Portrait Gallery, for fuck's sake?
Yeah.
Look at the things your kings used to wear.
Yeah, man. I mean, high heels and ruffles. Like, come on. Yeah. And then the wigs and like very intricate stuff.
Yeah.
It's obvious how much of this is a social construct and how much of our gender is performed, like all of us, right?
Yeah, and then how much of their fears are just projected onto the other. So they couldn't even really make those comparisons between like an Elizabethan frill and something that a Raja was wearing.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. It has some very deep roots, but like it persists, right? That
it does.
Hyper conservative and religious Victorian sense of like gender roles and gender binaries, and I think that's what these atheists got so offended by, right? Because that intern that posted that statement said that. Along with like the religious fundies, it is these guys, it is transphobes that help to keep pushing this transphobia and this anti-science stuff. And then they're like, what do you mean? We're not like the religious fundies. It's like, yeah, but you are.
You are. You have no self-awareness.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support it, there are several ways you can do that. You can share it online, talk about what you just heard. You can leave a 5-star review to help others find it too. And you can also subscribe via patreon.com/nice mangoes. No E in mangoes. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter before it's completely wrecked, you'll find me at Nice Mangoes. Again, no E in mangoes.